Goal is to talk a lot about what does management packs look like in Ops 12, as well as spend a little bit more time really giving you some better view on, no pun intended, a better view on dashboards.
Indeed.
So, all right, with that, somewhere around here, I think we hit a clicker. Cool, thanks. All right, so for this session, we're going to talk about management packs in Operations Manager 12, and then from there, we'll get into some dashboarding. All right, so let's set some context. We're talking about the differences between management packs in 2007 and the management packs in 2012. And before I go into those differences, we kind of want to look back for just a second. And we look back to when Operations Manager 2007 was first about to ship, and we had all these really happy MOM 2005 customers. You were actually a MOM happy customer, weren't you?
A very happy customer.
Absolutely. And if you talk to the program team about Operations Manager, really the crown jewels of what make Operations Manager special is really the richness of the management pack catalog. Would you say that's correct?
Definitely, it's nothing without management packs.
Absolutely. So what we thought would be a lot of fun back in and I wasn't here at the time, just for clarification, what we thought would be a lot of fun is to break all of them simultaneously with the release of Operations Manager 2007. So we took this really happy customer base and said, thank you for upgrading. By the way, all your current investment will no longer work. Is that kind of how that went back then?
Very much so, yes.
Okay, yeah. So with those fond memories that, 4 years later, some of you are still helping us remember, thank you for that. We're getting ready to release Operations Manager 2012, and we thought, what should we do? Should we go ahead and break everything again? Or should we go ahead and just make sure that we don't break anything this time around? And so we're going with Plan B this time. The schema structure and the actual management pack infrastructure that you already have done does not change. And this is where they're supposed to clap, right? Okay, all right. So, yeah, one guy in the front who uses management packs. Okay, so we're going to talk about how are we going to make sure that you get the new features from Operations Manager 12 without actually changing the schema of your Ops 07 MPs, which is actually kind of a cute little hat trick. We've got all kinds of different questions, and we're going to kind of flip through a couple of these slides. You're going to take them with you. But we get questions like, will there be new MPs in the catalog specific to Operations Manager 12? We get questions like, when do the native MPs for Ops 12 come out? And also, what kind of conversion tools are we going to need to convert our Ops 7 MPs to Ops 12? And then lastly, what kind of reinvestment should I be planning for now in order to make sure my MPs are ready for Ops 12? Does that kind of summarize that out for us?
Indeed, the major questions we always receive.
All right, so management pack promises, and there's not a whole lot of slides you see at Tech Ed that use the word promise, but these slides come from the guy whose job it is to maintain and manage our management pack scenario. So the promise that Dan is making, and I am making again on Dan's behalf, the management packs that you use today will work unchanged in Operations Manager 2012, period. In fact, we will not ship Operations Manager 12 if that promise does not hold to be true. We have a huge, rigorous testing program going on right now where we are making sure that every management pack, as is, comes through. Show of hands, who in here actually authors their own MPs as part of the experience? Okay, maybe a third of the room. Okay. So we want you to start playing with the beta. The beta is going to come out in summer. Use your own MPs with it. Play with it. And at the end of the deck, I've actually got an email address. If you have issues with your own homegrown management packs, we want to know. If you can repro them, that's great. If you're able to send us that MP, even better. But we will actually put it in the test matrix. We want to know that every MP that's built to run on 2007 R2 will run absolutely on Ops 12. Okay?
Definitely.
Does that sound like good stuff?
Sounds like amazing stuff coming from an MP developer.
Or we could just do the other plan A and just break everything again. But okay, well, we did that one already, so we're going to try something different this time. All right. So a couple last details on this. Our management packs will not break. Anything which is in the catalog today will work as is in Ops 12. Next promise, your management packs will not break. The overrides, the packs, everything that you've already done as far as timing goes, that all still maintains. And then, as we mentioned, there are no back compat tools. There are no conversion tools. It is the same schema. That does not change, and therefore, your management packs will not break. I don't know how many times Dan said it, but I tried to work in about 6 promises of that particular thing in about a minute. We'll have to compare that later. All right, that does not necessarily mean that we're going to be limited by the features and the capabilities that are in an 07 generation management pack. So let me kind of break through this. The idea is to provide a single MP regardless of which supported version of Operations Manager it's running. So whether it's 2007 with SP1, whether it's 2007 R2, or whether it's 2012. So we're trying to get back down to one story. In order to do that, by the way, so we're making some smaller, okay. The way that we're doing this is, at least for the Microsoft product portfolio, if a product ships during a given year, so for example, all the Microsoft products that ship in calendar 2010, as well as calendar 2011, Operations Manager 2007 SP1 is still a supported platform for that. And so the Microsoft teams are testing their management packs as they develop them against 07 SP1, against R2, and against upcoming 12, because again, we want to make sure those all match across the board. For products that ship in 2012, the development teams for Exchange and SQL and those kind of folks that are out there, they'll be testing with Operations Manager 2007 R2 as their primary station of what they want to check for compatibility with. And then as the years go on. So as an example, right now, if there's new management packs going on for SQL, that seems to be a pretty hot one, those management packs right now would be developed to get tested against SP1. When Denali ships later, by then, R2 will be kind of that baseline, I think, is how that timing is going to go. And so with that in mind, that's what they're going to develop a Denali MP against, and then moving forward from there. Okay, so that's how we're going to do the native monitoring management packs. We're also going to do this thing called feature packs. And feature packs are well, we're going to talk about some of them when we talk about dashboarding a little bit later, but in order to take advantage of some of the modular functionality enhancements that we want to give you in Operations Manager 12, we still have to have a delivery vehicle to do that. And since we don't want to change the schema of the management pack, you'll be seeing things called feature packs coming out for things like dashboarding that we'll be covering in just a few minutes. Okay, I think we've mentioned already no schema changes, and oh, by the way, your management packs will not break. And something that we're actually doing also to kind of reflect that reality, if you've been on the catalog lately, we're also in the process of renaming some of the MPs as they're coming out as well. Because the old name might be like XYZ Product Management Pack for Operations Manager 2007 SP1. But again, remember, the mandate is that the management pack works across all of them. So there's not the need to have that kind of differentiation. So instead, as you go to the catalog, you might see things like XYZ Product Monitoring Management Pack, as opposed to XYZ Product Dashboard Feature Pack. So we're trying to be a lot more prescriptive as far as what you're actually consuming when you get those downloads. And the idea here is simply just to be able to import those new feature packs the same way you do management packs, and that new value is realized immediately within the UI from that point forward. All right, and to do all of this, we're going to leverage Pinpoint. How cool is that? No one clapped on that one. All right.
Surprising.
So we're going to do this. I need to switch gears for 1 second. How about you take us through and actually talk about how much you've loved Pinpoint in the past while I get us back into that mode.
So Pinpoint was a catalog launched for many things, including Operations Manager management packs. And it was kind of sprung on us. No one was told it was coming. And it was kind of sprung on us, and suddenly our old management pack catalog was there, well, disappeared, where we could simply type in the management pack we were looking for, and it would return it for us. And it was replaced with Pinpoint. Out of interest, how many of you have used Pinpoint? Would you say it's a good experience? Any hands up for good experience? Yeah. Today, yes. So,
by the way, I'm not sure I'm going to let you kind of wing it on those kinds of things anymore. All right. Yeah, so the marketing term for this was that Pinpoint has opportunities for future enhancement. Is that a good way to say that?
Yes.
So at MMS a few weeks ago, we actually announced our intent to provide a replacement alternative for your portal of choice for Pinpoint. And I've been looking, because here's the punchline. The new site is supposed to go online today. Now, I'm looking, and the URL is not quite live yet, so I think it must be coming online Pacific time today. But I did want to go ahead and let you see the new experience. So, by the way that you'll get to this, so a little bit of reality. When Pinpoint first came out, it was intended as that one-stop shop to go and find and search everything that was in the ecosystem. It turned out, though, that it just really wasn't an optimal experience for management packs and integration packs and the other supplemental kind of material that you'd get from System Center. So Pinpoint is still kind of the underpinning underneath it, but we fixed quite a bit and actually provided a new platform in its place. And so the URL for that, you might want to write this down. As in the past, you might have gone to pinpoint.microsoft.com. Now you'll go to systemcenter.pinpoint.microsoft.com. And this is actually the experience that you'll see. So right off the bat, this is actually optimized just for the System Center family of products. So as an example, I was told the best part about Pinpoint was search. Okay? So we're going to go ahead and just do a quick search on SQL as an example. And here we go. So we're not going to see a couple thousand different results on SQL. We're going to see 32 of them. And lo and behold, the very top one is the SQL Server Monitoring Management Pack. So this experience is, I think, a little bit different than the Pinpoint that I tried earlier this week. And a couple things to note, by the way, is the reason this is actually the top entry in this list is because you rated it such. So as you use the rating system on that right-hand side, that's actually going to affect how things bubble up into here. And of course, we can go ahead and parse this down and say, I only want those things specific to Operations Manager, and you'll see now we're down to 18 results. I can also do things where I can actually search for things that were only rated to a certain quality bar. I can also search against things based on newness. So if I just want to know, hey, what's the newest stuff available for SQL from the System Center family, including, by the way, not only Operations Manager management packs, but also configuration management packs. As well as integration packs from Opalis and Orchestrator, etc.
Yeah, as Jason said, it's very important to rate these because it will just keep getting better and better the more ratings there are provided against these items.
You too. All right, so this is the new platform. As I mentioned, systemcenter.pinpoint.microsoft.com. We expect the URL to actually come online later today. We were kind of hoping it was going to come online about an hour before the session, so that you would literally be the first users in the world to be able to actually access it. But I guess we're about an hour or so off. But that is where it's going to be, and make sure that we blog that before the day is out and tweet the heck out of it.
Definitely.
Absolutely. All right, so let's kind of go back. Yeah, I think we already made fun of Pinpoint. We can kind of skip through that. Yeah, feedback that we often heard, I hate Pinpoint, I call it Painpoint. I actually really like that one. That one's clever. All right. All right, so here we are here with the new version of Pinpoint. So we just wanted to kind of give you, there's not a whole lot to say about how you're going to convert your management packs, how you're going to retrofit them, how you're going, there's nothing to say there. We want you to hear very clearly is the investments that you've made and the investments that you are making in management packs for 2007 R2, those just carry forward. That is part of our commitment to you to preserve your investment in Operations Manager. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to David. I'll go ahead and reset your demo environment for you while you're starting the slides.
Great. So I'm going to go through the new dashboarding functionality that's going to be provided with OM12, Operations Manager 2012. The majority of you, it seemed from earlier, have come straight from the network monitoring Operations Manager session. So you already seen the network dashboard. We'll have another look at that shortly. And what we're going to look at is what the key improvements have been made in dashboarding. Why have we done dashboarding? To get all your data and put it in one place and provide some context around that information. Make it useful to you. A lot of data, the Operations Manager collects lots of good information, great information, but most of it is never really looked at. And a lot of it can't provide any context as to why you're experiencing problems.
You could even argue, in fact, that in some cases, Operations Manager might actually be giving you too much information.
Indeed.
And so one of the ideas is, and we saw a little bit of this with views, right? The ability to actually parse down and get a little bit crisper in what we're seeing. Dashboards is going to take that to another level for us.
Definitely, and we're going to see that in just a moment.
By the way, turns out the clicker, the R and the F are backwards. Yeah, so.
That's helpful. So the highlights of the new dashboards. Key one, rich visualization capabilities. Let's make these things look good, and let's make them look appealing. You want to engage with them. You want to work with them. The information that it's providing, you make it easy to consume. Mm-hmm. Very important. Operations Manager has been moving forward with its visualizations, and this is just the next step on making it even better. Mm-hmm. Further to that, improve the visualization of complex information. As we discussed earlier, you can be swamped with so much information, you don't know what to do with it. So let's visualize it in a way that makes it much easier for you to work with that information.
You know, David, they say that a picture is worth 1,000 words. So if we could get rid of every 1,000 words by putting new pictures in, this is probably a good thing.
Very much so.
Okay.
Relationships and drill down become more evident. We can link from one piece of data to other related pieces of data. That link becomes very easy to view. Mm-hmm. Graphical formats, improvements over the old style dashboard. Who in here have used the old dashboards? Anyone created any of them? Oh, quite a few. The old dashboards were really just a view of other views you've already created. Just combine, lots of views you've already created all on one page. And that's not what really most people feel is proper dashboarding. Dashboarding is information. Dashboards are where you can get quick information on what you need to know about your environment. And then finally, the dashboards are going to be featured in all the consoles. So we're going to have it in the Windows console, the hard console. You're going to have your dashboard. It's also going to be available in the web console, the new web console using Silverlight. Mm-hmm. And it's also going to be able to be published into SharePoint.
So let's see. What's your dashboard going to look like this time?
Okay.
Oh, so we have some goals, right?
Yep. So first of all, we're going to discuss the goals of the dashboarding. So first of all, it's to build an extensible visualization solution. So as we said before, make it visualized, make it appealing. The dashboards are to be defined in MPs, as we discussed earlier. There's going to be separate feature packs that contain these dashboards. Maximize reuse. So let's not just create dashboards for one particular thing like SQL that can't be used anywhere else. Let's make the components underneath reusable so we can use them for any piece of data for any product within Operations Manager. Consistency, bring consistency so they always look the same. You always know how to use them. You're not going to have the shock of moving from one dashboard to another and it be completely different in the way it works and looks. And then write once, visualize everywhere. So as we discussed before, write your dashboard once, whether it's in the web console or the hard console, and that goes everywhere with you. So, excuse me for a moment, dry mouth here.
So basically the big idea here is that what we want to do is we want to take all the rich information that we're already giving you through management packs, and we're going to package dashboard elements up into those management packs and give you an easier way to distill that down into something graphical so we can consume that rich information in an easier way. And then from there, if we want, we can always drill down back into the text. But the idea is let's give you that green, yellow, red, high, low, numeric set of values first before having to drill in through the minutia. Is that fair?
Yeah, that's very fair. That's exactly what we're trying to achieve. And the last point on there, which is very important, is to integrate with our current and previous investments. Your investments you've already made in your operations manager environment, you don't want to lose those. You will still want to be able to dashboard on information that you have on investments you've already made in operations manager. And you'll be able to do that when this comes out. So here are the concepts of the dashboard. We have the dashboard view, which is the outer view of the whole dashboard, so the whole thing you see on the screen there. A dashboard container is the container within the view that contains a specific widget, which we'll get to next. So, for example, if you look in the top left and the top right, those two are containers. Within each container, you'll have a dashboard widget. And a widget is where you define what information you want to show in that container. And a widget is made up of UI control, a data provider, configuration, and personalization. What that basically means is the UI control is how is this data going to look? Is it going to be a grid format, as we can see the state views on this network diagram? Is it going to be a performance chart? The data provider, what data is it going to get? So in these state views, you've got the state, you've got the entity, and you've got a piece of performance data being pulled. How that data is being configured, and then how you want to personalize it as well. So any users can have their own personalizations on their dashboards. The dashboard layout is how the grid, basically how it's laid out. So on this screen, we've got two containers at the top, and then two containers underneath, two horizontal containers underneath. That's the layout. And there'll be lots of different layouts available, which we'll see shortly. Then we have a template, which is basically a dashboard layout, but with widgets already in place in the layout, so you can just add in what groups or what classes you want to look at. And then finally, there's widget connections. And this basically enables widgets to connect to other widgets, so to enable one widget to drive another widget. In this network summary dashboard, we don't have any widget connections, but in some dashboards, you'll select one piece of information, and that will drive another piece of information in a different widget.
So I think actually when we go into the network view in a few seconds, we're starting to go through things like navigating from one widget to another. That'll be an example of a connection we can show off.
Exactly.
Yep.
So let's do that. Let's go into our network monitoring.
I'll switch you over.
Thank you. So in this demo environment at the moment, I'm looking at a list of network switches, 12 network switches. And the first thing we're going to do is look at the vicinity view for one of these switches, one of the new vicinity views. So we'll select that.
Now, to kind of be clear a little bit, one of the things which is different between a dashboard and the past is that think of a dashboard really as a view, which we might have done in 2007 R2, and a set of tasks that are all integrated and then presented in a graphical way. That's probably a pretty fair roll-up of that?
Very much so, yeah.
Okay.
Agreed.
And I think a lot of us have actually seen the network view from the past, but just for those that might not have, what we're seeing here is all the network devices being stitched together into a graphical presentation.
Yeah, as you can see on the screen now, it's much more meaningful now. Now we can see exactly all the network items that are within 2 hops of the item we actually selected. So from here, we can select one of these network switches, and we can actually jump from this view into the dashboard for that network node. So we'll select that. And here we have one of our dashboards.
And so as I'm looking at this here, what I think I'm seeing is I've got 2 containers, right? That's what we call them on the top.
2 containers.
And then there's another row down. So this is a traditional grid type format. And in this here, we can see a lot of different kinds of widgets, can't we?
Yeah, there's many different widgets in here. We've got a topology view widget, which is the vicinity view, so it's showing us the topology of our network. Then on the right-hand side, we've got a performance-based widget that's showing us performance information. And then further down, we've got a different type of performance widget showing us graph information on processor usage and general performance data. And then on the left-hand side, we've got the instance widget, which is just showing us the information on the network node we selected.
Yeah, that's just the depth information that we would typically get as info.
That's correct. So the properties that have been discovered by that object, as in any object within Operations Manager. And then further down, we have a state. A state widget. So it's showing us the state of the interfaces that are on that network node.
Now we can actually right-click on one of those interfaces, and we'll get a chance to take advantage of a widget connector.
That's correct.
Because now what we're going to see is we're going to see it go from one to another, right?
That's correct. So we right-click any one of these interfaces, and we go Navigation, and then Network Interface Dashboard. So the next dashboard we're firing up here, the Network Interface Dashboard, is going to be based on this item that we've selected, on this interface we've selected. So one widget is driving another.
And this one's just too cool. I love this dashboard.
Ooh, pretty graphs. So as you can see on this one, we've got much more detailed information on that specific interface. Again, we've got a number of different widgets there doing different things, showing us different information. And we can scroll down and show all the performance data we've got. And then at the very bottom, we've got an active alerts widget as well, which will show us any alerts that are being associated with just that network interface node.
Okay, so now that's a really cool dashboard, but this is one that already comes from Microsoft. It's actually built into Operations Manager 2012 itself as part of the network monitoring functionality. Can you show us how to build our own?
Of course. So these, as Jason said, these dashboards are great, but it's come out of the box. You'll want the ability to create your own dashboards that are relevant for your environment. So what we can do is
use that machine instead. You'll have
we're
more
going
data.
to switch machines so it's a bit bigger and clearer for you. Hopefully that's a bit clearer. So we're going to right-click in our monitoring pane, and we can select Dashboard View, just as we did before. But now we get a different wizard up than what we're used to. So now here we can select the template we want to use for our dashboard. Do we want a flow layout or a grid layout? And those dashboards we've just been looking at in the network, they're grid-based dashboards. So it's a grid of information. And the flow-based dashboards are more containers that are next to each other and flowing in the path, which we'll see.
Let's go ahead and do a grid.
So we'll start with a grid layout. We'll give it a name. TechEd View. Dashboard might be more appropriate.
You got to learn a new word there, man.
We select a management pack to pull it in. And then we specify the layout we want. As we discussed earlier, there's a number of different layouts available. So at the moment, we've got from 1 to 9 cells. So if we select, say, 4 cells, we've got a number of different layouts based on those 4 cells. So we'll select this first one.
This is almost like selecting a template on a page for a new SharePoint portal site. And then from there, you'd be putting in web parts.
Exactly the same, yeah.
Yeah.
Confirm we're happy, as usual, with most things in these wizards. And then we can hit Create, which will build our initial dashboard, which should be done any moment.
Bless you. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create this framework, right? So it's just a pane of glass with little squares in it. Now, when it comes back, then our next step is these are the containers. So the next step we're going to do is actually add some widgets.
Widgets into those containers.
And widget is a technical term, right?
Sorry?
Widget is a technical term? All right, here we go.
There we go. So
it'll take a few seconds for it to refresh in the
any moment
in the
now,
window.
it will populate. We hope.
I think I can.
It will.
All right. Any questions about what you've seen so far? Comments? Feedback? When's lunch? Okay. On the aisle?
This is all using the Ops Manager console, which is not really where we author management packs.
Say it one more time.
Okay, let me say it another way. So would you use the same dashboard wizard when you're authoring a management pack and putting a dashboard into an MP you're going to reuse and send out?
Well, if you're a management pack developer, there will be new tools coming out to help you with this when 2012 is released. Unfortunately, we don't have anything with us today to be able to demonstrate that, because it's not even in beta yet.
Right, but after you develop the management pack using the authoring tool, then you can create the dashboard, and one of the things you may have noticed was when he created that dashboard, he could decide which management pack that dashboard was going to be stored in. So then from that point on, then it'll carry with the management pack.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, that's perfectly correct.
Okay.
But there will also be tools if you want to author it directly from, say, I'm presuming you're talking the authoring console, working directly in the XML. There will be tools that will come out to help you build these. So our dashboard populated. And as we can see, we've got the layout that we selected. And on each one of these containers, we can now click on to add a widget in. So we'll select one of those. And at the moment, because we're a CTP3 build, which is pre-beta, we only have one widget available at the moment. So that's the one I'm going to demonstrate, which is the alert widget.
And then in a few minutes, we have some screens to show what some of the other widgets look like.
Yeah. So we give our widget a name, alert. We decide where we're going to put that widget and which management pack we're going to place that widget.
Now, key success factor here is you want to make sure you put the widgets in the same management pack that the dashboard is in.
Yeah, that's a very important factor, because the same rules apply for management packs in 12 as they did in 07. So an unsealed management pack will still not be able to reference another unsealed management pack. So if you put them in different management packs, they're not going to work together.
Well, we'll happily pop up an error and tell you that you can't save the widget, so that works out really well. It's a feature.
We select which group or objects we want to display information on. And if we select these little ellipses here, this is the new object picker that was going to be used throughout OM12 to make it a bit easier to find the objects you actually want to focus on and actually look at. So here we'll select, what did you say earlier? SQL?
I like SQL. There's several SQL servers in that domain. So
SQL instances?
That'll work.
Yeah. So we can select SQL instances. And then what information do we want to see? What kind of alert information do we want to see? Do we just want to see critical warning information or all the alerts? Priority? In what resolution state do we want to see them?
Let's pick them all so we can see everything that's available.
We see the whole lot. So by selecting these little checkboxes at the top, it will auto-select everything for you. And then how do we want this information displayed? So which columns do we want to display? Severity is normally a handy one to have. Maintenance mode, source, name. And another one to point out here, which is new, is monitor alert. Yeah, one person clapping. So there was a big thing in Ops Manager 2007 where you have all these alerts coming, but unless you right-clicked each individual one, you never knew whether it was a rule created it or a monitor that created it. Now we can actually tick this box and actually show the alerts that were created by monitors. So we've got some distinguishing there. So we select some information that we want to show, and then we can decide what we want to sort by. So we can sort by severity, and we can provide some grouping options as well. Confirm our options and hit create.
And again, this will take a few seconds where we should try to find some kind of banter to kind of buy us some time so that by the time we finish bantering, then in theory that perhaps that the UI might have finished. And so at this point, we're just trying to add some color while the scroll bar is going across the screen.
We're just going to keep talking random words until it displays on the screen.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to work for us. All right, so this is going to take a few seconds, and when it comes back, we'll actually see an alert-based view, and it will take actually a few seconds. So maybe we should go ahead and take them through some of the other widget types in the screens, and then we'll come back to this.
Sounds good.
Say that again? We're going to talk through that.
Yep. So here's an example of a summary dashboard, a conceptual summary dashboard, how we envisage that they might look at some point. So on this one, as you can see, we've got alert information, we've got performance information, we've got state information, and alert information, all on one screen. So you can get an overview of your, in this case, SQL infrastructure. So we can see straight away that we've got one computer that's generated, one SQL computer that's generating more alerts than any other.
One of the other things to note from this is that the summary dashboard is actually intended as something that comes with the workload. So this is actually intended as the SQL admin's primary pane of glass. In a few seconds, we'll go into a different kind of view. As we move forward, one of the things that was important for us to do is to make sure that these kinds of dashboards, many of them will actually come from those original workloads at the time that Operations Manager 2012 ships. So you'll be able to use your existing SQL management pack, but on day one, or pretty close to it, there'll be a dashboard feature pack for SQL that'll actually just give you these new views, or new dashboards. I got to get that word in my vocabulary, as part of that new experience with Operations Manager 12. So it's just going to expose that additional information to you. So that's a summary dashboard. Yep. Let's go into layer.
Sorry, go back to. So there we go, back to that one. So this is the summary dashboard. Just a couple of extra points to note on this. If you on the alert part at the bottom, we list the alerts, and in OM12, there would be a details screen under that. So you select the alert, and then there'd be a details pane listing the details of that alert. In these dashboards, to make them more dynamic and show more information for you, the information regarding that alert will dynamically pop up when you actually select that alert. I don't know if you can see at the bottom where we've got the alert in bold, and then all the information for that alert has been populated. So if you select a different alert, you'll get all the information from that alert as well. And the same above it with the database state. You select an object, and the properties for that object will slide out to the side. Like I said, these are conceptual. It might not be exactly like this, but that's the idea.
Let's take them through the other dashboard, and then we'll revisit.
So from here, this is where we can have the dashboards connected. So from the summary dashboard, then we can drill down into just one specific SQL computer and look at the performance of that SQL computer. So this is more of a performance-focused dashboard.
So this is very similar to how in the networking dashboard we had the network node view where we could see all the network infrastructure, and we were actually able to drill down into a particular switch, and then from there even down to a particular port. And each time we got deeper layers of performance information, but at the top we just wanted to know critical, warning, or all good.
Exactly. So the summary dashboard, we saw all the computers and their state. We wanted to look at one in that was in a critical state maybe, and we can drill down and get more performance information, just as Jason said. Mm-hmm. Okay. So we'll flip back over.
So just to make sure we're not in smoke and mirrors, we do have. So this is the widget that first came back.
So this is the alert widget we just created in that first container. As you can see, we've now got 3 alerts that met the criteria that we defined, so based on SQL. And as I mentioned a minute ago, if we select any of these alerts, the information pops up regarding that alert.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. So how about you talk about different kinds of widgets for a second, and I'm going to get the next demo ready.
Thank you. So, as I said, at the moment we've only got one widget available in CTP3, but there will be more widgets available as we get closer and closer to release. And here are some conceptual screens on how it may look. So we've got some widgets for performance line charts, lists, different types of charts, counters, alert age, and there will be a huge number, well, a very large number of different options. Once you've selected your widget, in this case a performance type widget, we can go and actually configure that widget. So we can select the object that we want that widget to display on, or class, or anything that's in Operations Manager. We can select the configuration of that widget. So what data do we actually want to show? In this case, it might be just one specific performance collection rule we want to show data on. And then we can choose how we want to display that data. So whether it's a line chart or a pie chart, or whichever, depending on the widget you've selected, you'll have different options here. And then finally, that will create for you, and as an example there, you have your performance chart in your container as you specified. Okay. So here's an example of another different network summary dashboard. I'm getting the word wrong now. So as you can see here, we've used, again, different widgets available to provide a dashboard that's relevant for you. We've got our active alerts at the top. That's what, in this scenario, we want to know most, followed by the transactions per second in the bottom left-hand corner that we just created. Mm-hmm. Then we've added a few more in, so top web server CPU and lowest DB free space. Again, using data that operations managers already collected and visualizing it in a way that's useful to you.
So now if I'm the owner of the application, I only have to go into this particular view in order to experience the rest of the scenario, right?
That's correct.
Okay.
Which is a much improved experience over Operations Manager at present.
Great.
So, defining a dashboard. As we said before, we create dashboards and they're going to be stored in management packs. And they'll be available to you through, well, the Microsoft ones will be available to you through feature pack downloads from Microsoft. Mm-hmm.
And then third-party ones will actually have the option of being delivered in the same way. So
Indeed,
you'll see all of that as part of the new System Center Pinpoint base.
That's correct. That new marketplace will show not just Microsoft management packs, but all the third-party management packs that have come through as well.
Exactly.
As we saw when we went through building our dashboard, we chose a template and a layout. Pretty self-explanatory. There's graphical options on picking those. And then we added the actual widgets, so to display the information that we are actually interested in. So whether it's performance widget, whether it's an alert widget, state widget, we select what's relevant to us to show us the information we need. And then finally, a big one, every user can now personalize their own dashboards and it follow them around. Mm-hmm. In Operations Manager at present, if you personalize anything, it gets stored in the registry of the local computer that console is on. So you go to a different computer and open that console, you lose all your personalizations. In Ops Manager 2012, all your personalization information is being stored in the database, which means no matter where you then open a console or what type of console you open, you get all your personalizations. So let's look at a bit more detail in the different widgets that are going to be available. As we've seen, we've already looked at the alert widget, so I won't spend too much time on this one, but basically, it's for viewing alerts. It's a grid layout, and the provider is alert data, and it's pulling that from the Operations Manager database, the operational database. The configuration options will be the groups and the alert severity, priority resolution, as we saw, and then you'll be able to personalize that, so like, the columns and the grouping based on your requirements. We have a performance widget, and this is using a performance control user interface control, and it's using the performance data provider. Now, one thing to note with this one, it's actually pulling this data from the data warehouse.
So it'll actually build it over time.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you will get all the data we need over time. Again, we'll have the configuration options that we'd expect for performance, and again, you'll be able to personalize it based on your own requirements. Map with state. This is something we don't have in Ops Manager at the moment, in any form, really. So now you'll be able to use a topology control widget to pick out state data from the operational database and then put that on a map. And you'll be able to configure that map. You'll be able to change that map. In this example, we have a map of the world, and we can take our state information from the OpsDB and place it in the relevant location. So if we have roll-ups to different data centers, we can map those on our map and see the state of our different locations. These ones are still being developed, so personalization options are still to be decided as yet. Here's a different topology type control. Topology control. This one will probably look familiar to you if you use Operations Manager 2007. It's just like the diagram views you already have in there, but you'll be able to add those into a container, use this widget in a container to actually put them on a dashboard. This uses data from the Operations Manager database. And as you can see, there's quite a lot of configuration information on this. You'll be able to show the contained objects, levels of containment, virtual grouping. You can change the background image, which you couldn't do previously. And then again, personalization options are still to be decided.
Now, by the way, as we're going through these, if these are interesting to you, or more importantly, if you notice that there's some kind of visualization of your operations manager data that you're not seeing, now is the time to tell us about that. So at the end, we have some email and some feedback addresses. We want to find out, is this going to meet your needs? What do we need to make sure these things test for? How do we make sure that it actually it provides you the visualization in the way that you would actually expect to do it in your business? So be thinking about that as we go through these for additional feedback that you might want to offer.
Yeah, definitely. We have a state widget. So we can, put, like with the network dashboard, you see that they use state widgets. So we can pull back state data on specific entities or objects within Operations Manager. Where this widget, though, becomes really powerful is being able to combine state data with an entity with performance data. A lot of you are probably familiar with, a few years ago, a lot of management packs were delivered where they'd have discoveries that discovered dynamic data, so like the size of a file or something, that's constantly changed. Mm-hmm. And you had to do that, well, you didn't have to, but the reason that was done was so you could get that information very quickly by looking at the state of an object. The problem with that is it causes a huge configuration churn on the Operations Manager environment, which it negatively impacts performance. This solves that problem. You don't need to discover dynamic data anymore, because we can take the last performance counter for a particular managed entity and display that with its state. So as we can see here, we can see our node name, we can see it's healthy, and we can also see that CPU usage is 7%. But we haven't discovered that CPU usage piece of data. We've just pulled the last piece of data from the performance counter. Again, you'll be able to configure it via group instance and columns, and then personalize it in the same way. We have top and bottom end for performance and SLO. So these widgets are very useful, so you can see straight away if you've got any servers that are just using far too many system resources, and you can see straight away they're the servers you need to go and investigate straight away. And you can do that based on performance metrics or on service level objectives. So is it meeting service level objective? Is it within your service level agreement?
If we take a look at something like this in the context of private cloud and the fabric that you're trying to architect for that, this is going to be one of those indicators where you can actually see this is where I need to either maybe invoke an orchestrator or a service manager workflow to go ahead and maybe perhaps spin up a new instance of a given app if I see that the CPU is pegged on one given thing. That's how I'm going to scale out dynamically. But this will give me as a dashboard, it'll give me a view as to what needs to be scaled out that may not have covered on its own yet.
Yeah, very much so. And again, you can customize this for your own environment. You'll be able to change the colors of the bars and change the thresholds and really customize it for you. Availability history over time. So again, we're going to take availability history data from the data warehouse to provide you information on how available whatever you're targeting has been. So it might be an application, it might be a specific server, but how available has that been over a given period? Again, this will use a performance control to provide this. And again, you'll have a number of configuration options on there on how you want that information displayed. So as you can see on the slide there, you'll be able to select what kind of collection, instance or monitor you want to use to display the availability information and the periods over which you want to display it.
Looks like somebody bounced their server around 2 o'clock in the morning. Or 1 o'clock in the morning, yeah.
And then top end for alerts. So this is very similar to the top end for performance. Again, it's instantly going to show you the servers that are generating the highest number of alerts. You can get this currently in Operations Manager 2007, but it involves you having to run a report to get it. Mm-hmm. With this widget, you'll be able to just go onto a dashboard and instantly see the servers that are generating the most amount of alerts, and be able to go and focus your attention on sorting them out first. The alerts one will come out of the operational DB. That will be, the widget will be there in the this widget will only be configured to go off the operational database.
Correct. The top alerts for performance would come out of the data warehouse because it needs to pull from a larger range of data.
Okay. Then we have performance gauge and SLA gauges. So we saw some of these on the network dashboard.
Yep.
So these are nice gauges to show you how well you're doing against your service level agreements or against performance collections you have set up. So this is going to pull data from the data warehouse, whether it's SLA data or performance data. It's going to use the data warehouse. And then you'll be able to configure it based on what you actually want to see, what performance information you want to see, or SLA information you want to see. And the image that's just changed at the bottom there is a different way of being able to display this data. So for service level objectives, this is probably a much more realistic view of how you want to display your data. Use the thermometer type approach, so you can actually just see straight away in a big list exactly how you're doing on all your items that you're tracking as a service level objective. So, as we said before, we once you've configured your dashboards and you've put all the widgets in you want, it's a consistent experience. We've got an example there of the Operations Manager console. We've got all our containers in there containing widgets showing our dashboarding information. But then I move and I go to someone else's computer and I bring up the web console, and it looks exactly the same.
Mm-hmm. So a big thing here is, we talk about actually helping folks to consume all this information. In Operations Manager 12, we're giving you network views that you've never seen before. We're giving you deep insight into distributed applications that you've never seen before. And of course, we continue to have the rich information we have around servers and applications and data. So the whole idea here was, okay, we're giving you all this information, and arguably it potentially could be too much information. So the dashboards not only need to be something that we can customize for function for, say, the IT pro versus the application owner versus the exec, we also want to make sure that those particular roles can consume that information via the interfaces they're used to doing it. So David's an IT pro, he lives and breathes an operations manager, that might make sense. My buddy Mike does a little dabbling in development on the side. He might actually just want the web portal instead, but he's going to be able to customize the dashboard once and actually have that be consumed through either the web interface or the desktop interface. Same experience.
Yep, indeed. And a couple of extra things to note. For users that don't need a full Windows console, these dashboards can be created through the web console. You will be able to be exactly the same experience as doing it in the Windows console. You'll right-click, New Dashboard, and you'll be able to create them in the web console. So if you as an Operations Manager Administrator spend quite a lot of time building views for other people, you can potentially get rid of a lot of that workload and allow users to do their own.
And dashboards each have their own URL, which means you'll actually be able to hard code URLs and have customers not have to navigate through the web-based Operations Manager interface. They can go directly to the URL for their dashboard that makes sense to them.
So it's really focusing on the people that are going to consume this and use it.
Right. But we're not done yet.
We're not done yet. We can also now have the same experience in SharePoint. There is now a new SharePoint web part that you can use that will connect into Operations Manager and actually display the same dashboards within SharePoint. So now you've got 3 different places you can go to and still get exactly the same dashboard view as per your own personalizations.
In fact, why don't we go ahead and just kind of tickle this, because this will take just a minute to kind of bake out, but I've gone over, and we're still in the Tech Ed dashboard that David built for us a little earlier. We still have that same 4-pane widget, pane template. We've gone ahead and this alert did kind of bubble up finally, so we actually have some information here. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and open up the web page, and this is the web version. It is the same template, it is the same widgets, all that configuration information is in the same place. So now I can just go straight to that web page and have the same experience. And by the way, if I make modifications to this, I'm just going to move it down to one of the other windows. And then if I wait just a few minutes, When we come back, you'll actually see that this is moved as well. It actually has to save back out into the, well, the template has to resave into the management pack, and the management pack has to refresh. So it's going to take 2 or 3 minutes, but it's the same experience all the way through. So in just a few minutes, we actually should be able to see this come back up on the other side. Let me see if I can force it, but I think it still needs to
yeah, but that's something we haven't actually discussed yet either. I mean, using the, as Jason just did, using those little arrows on those containers, you can move your widgets around, move the containers around in your dashboard view.
Yep.
So in this case, the top container is your primary one, is the main focus you're looking at.
It just refreshed.
But that might not be the focus I want now, so Jason's moved it, and as we can see, it's moved down into one of the smaller containers at the bottom.
And if, in fact, for example, one of the other things we talked about is if this big square doesn't really make what I need it to do anymore, I can actually go back in, I can go back into my grid layout and actually add another grid inside of this grid so I can really start to reparse that and make that dashboard what it needs to be for me.
Yep, it's very powerful. Okay, so as we've mentioned with some of these widgets, some of the data being pulled is from the data warehouse. Now in Ops Manager 2007, the data warehouse was pretty much exclusively for reporting purposes. The operations console did not use data from the data warehouse. The architecture of Ops Manager 2012 has changed. We can now utilize data in the data warehouse. Now in the Ops Manager 2012, the root management server has gone away. Hooray! And we can have a number of management servers, and they will all run an SDK service. And they will all connect to both the Operations Manager database and the Operations Manager data warehouse, which means no matter where your console connections come into, to any management server, they will be able now to pull the data from both of your databases and utilize that in the dashboards. To improve performance over what was there previously as well, there's been significant improvements on the SDK cache and the console caches to make sure that when you're pulling all this information, it doesn't become unusable because the performance is so poor. You're still going to have a very good performance, as you've already seen with us using in the demo environment.
So, yeah, from a partner perspective, I think I mentioned this already, the idea is that not only do we want to make sure that all of your existing MPs continue to work, but also we are actively partnering right now with our internal partners like the Exchange team, and the SQL team, and the SharePoint team, as well as many ISVs. There's 175 ISVs in the System Center Alliance alone. Many of them are phenomenal management pack authors, including the folks over at Infront. So the idea is working with them to make sure that as they've developed their management packs, we want to make sure as many dashboards are available for those as well. So we're going to be looking for feature packs to host those dashboards out as well. And one of the key things also to realize is that because that's the delivery mechanism for the templates and for the widgets, it means that you're not bound by what you see in Operations Manager 2012 on the day that it RTMs. You'll see new widget capabilities as well as new template formats all coming out as that management pack and feature pack rhythm, so you don't have to wait for those. I think we've already seen those.
So yeah, it's just another view, another example of the conceptual dashboard that might be a...
Yeah, that's the SQL one.
So that's the SQL one. And this is just highlighting how you would then use this to connect to the next dashboard to drill down, as we did with the network dashboard. So we could just right-click an object, select dashboard view, and then we get the more detailed performance dashboard view that we saw earlier.
Okay, so our call to action, what we hope you take away from here, 2 things. One, certainly enthusiasm and excitement around what's coming in Operations Manager 12. One of the things that we're doing in order to help with that is we're doing something called a community evaluation program. Who in the past has been part of a System Center TAP or RDP event? Okay, so we do still have a TAP, and the TAP has been chock full for quite a while. The TAP folks have been working on, I think we're up to CTP 3 right now as far as Operations Manager 12 goes. We've got the beta coming out this summer. But the problem is the TAP is usually a very limited size. It's usually 20, 30, 40, 50 customers as kind of the extremes. And we wanted to make sure a wider range of customers have a chance to kind of have a more direct experience with the pre-release software. So what a community evaluation program is it's a chance for you to actually partner with not only the product team, but also with the MVP community, and really take more of a narrated view through the pre-release bit. So here's how it works. This week we announced we are now taking enrollment for the Operations Manager SEP. So there's a SEP for every part of System Center. We're targeting X number of folks who want to participate. It's a couple hundred participants. So we really encourage you, if this is something that's interesting to you and you're taking notes, what you need to write down is OM, Operations Manager, CEP, at Microsoft.com. You need to send an email there so you can start your paperwork to be part of that process. The goal is once we've filled up our slots, we're going to announce the work schedule for that. And so for 2 weeks, everyone who's in the OM SEP will focus on just the networking feature. And you'll have private webcasts and some homework and some hands-on experience with just the networking feature, and have a chance to provide feedback and ask your questions. And then for the next 2 weeks, we'll talk about dashboard customization. And for the next 2 weeks, we'll talk about .NET monitoring. And for the next 2 weeks, we'll talk about 07 R2 upgrade scenarios. But for each of the major facets of what's going to be coming in Operations Manager 12, we want to give you a chance to directly provide feedback, ask questions, and get trained on a particular feature at a time, so that by the time the RTM of that product happens, you are well-versed and experienced with the Operations Manager 12. And by the way, it is not uncommon in these SEPs that the features that you identify early on in that beta process are things that we might actually be able to act upon and actually add new features or tweak behaviors of things based on the feedback we get from you. So it's a great bi-directional conversation. And as I mentioned, your call to action for today, send an email to omcep@microsoft.com, or if you just want to go straight to the browser page for it, you can go to the URL in that lower left-hand corner, msft.it/SEP. So,
Great.
Summary and call to action. So the summary is, I'm not sure if we covered this yet, but your MPs will work.
Your MPs will not break.
Your MPs will not break, at least not due to Operations Manager. All right, so get ready. The widget, the beta comes this summer, and we want to hear your feedback on the widgets. We want to hear your feedback on the dashboards. Encourage the partners that you get your MPs through. Find out what their plan is. Are they working on dashboards yet? Are they working on what's going to be new? I was going to joke and say, are they working on updating and converting their management packs to 12? But I don't think anyone would get it. All right, and then start thinking about your own environment. Hopefully, many of you got a chance to go to Rob Keefus' session earlier on setup and config for Ops 12, so you have some ideas in your head around how you need to be deploying now to make it the smoothest possible scenario for upgrading to Operations Manager 12. Let's go one more slide down. And here's lots of resources that are available. There's also in the deck, there's links to the other session topics that we covered on Ops this week. For best information on Operations Manager, we always recommend you start off with Microsoft.com/Ops Manager. The Tech Center also, that's where you're going to get all the 300-level product documentation, white papers, etc. Very active TechNet forums for Operations Manager, and many passionate MVPs, including my friends David and Mike in the front row, that are there to help. You guys just have really big hearts.
Yeah, that's right.
It's good. All right.
Just like to help.
The team blog is blogs.tech.com/momteam. And then there's 2 different Twitter accounts if you follow tweets. You want to follow MP releases, and you can find out about each MP as it comes out. And then also system_center for all the top-level news as well. I kind of mentioned this before. You need to sign up for the SEP. Gone. Not quite. But so send an email to omcep@microsoft.com. If you have feedback, if you're playing with your management packs today, you're playing with the Operations Manager 12 beta coming up this summer, and you do see something funky, you do see something that is not quite working the way that you might expect it to, we want to know. And I asked you this before. Help us with a repro if you can. Send the MP if you're able. But we want to know. And in fact, the guy who owns management packs at Microsoft, his name is Dan Rogers, and his email address is danrowe. And he really wants to know.
He genuinely does, so please send your feedback to him.
Yep. And we will get into the test metrics. It may be that it's part of the beta. That's the problem. It may be there's something else going on in your environment. It may be the MP. But we want to know so we can help you resolve that in time for RTM. My information, if you want to send me questions, you can send those to jbuff, JBUFF, at Microsoft.com, and some information from me, and then my good friend David Allen. David?
If you have any questions or anything, my information's at the bottom there. Feel free to reach out to me as well. So
with that, we have 6 minutes left. We want to see if there's any last questions. Some of you have weighed in already, so we'll take questions for a few minutes, and then we'll let you guys go. All right, thank you very much. We'll take questions, so don't turn off the mics in the back. Enjoy the rest of Tech Ed and travel home safe. Thank you.
Thank you.
Go ahead and take your questions from the mics, because we want to trap them for the folks at home. Please.
All right, so this isn't dashboard related, but it is, I've got some questions regarding, just an example, closing, you mentioned earlier that is a alert for monitor.
Is monitor alert?
Yeah, is monitor
Yep.
alert. So when closing alerts, do monitors get reset?
No, well, not at this time.
Right, because I see that as a bug, basically, because when you close an alert, the monitor health stays red.
Yeah.
Potentially, if it doesn't ever turn healthy again and you get another error, you won't get a second alert.
Yeah, I mean, the idea is for monitors to be self-resetting. So, you know, when it finds it's gone back into a healthy state, then it trips itself and closes the alert itself. But you're right, for manual reset monitors, closing the alert is not going to reset the state back to a healthy state. I know it's on a list of things to look at.
Yep.
I can't tell you whether it's actually anything's going to be done about it in time for this release or not, though, I'm afraid.
So as far as what I really miss, and I mentioned for MOM 2005, what I really miss from MOM 2005 is the ability to finely control granular notifications. So we have customers that only care about one specific server, not groups, right? And they want to be notified for a specific server when the disk fills, right?
Yeah.
That's not really possible with Operations Manager 2007.
The notification side of things is improving in 2012. Mm-hmm. You'll have the ability to set up notifications directly from alerts, specific alerts. I don't know if Jason knows a bit more whether it's a specific computer you'll be able to set up notifications from, but it's definitely being improved. Whether it will get to exactly what you're after.
We should talk through that scenario, because it's an interesting one to go through. If you'll send me email, again, jbuff, JBUFF, at Microsoft.com, let me see if I can get you a complete answer, and it might show up on my blog.
Okay, thank you.
Great, thank you.
Let's go to the other side, in the back, and then come forward.
Hello. I got a couple of questions for you. When you're talking about maps,
yep.
Are you going to let us import our own map and override, the U.S. or world map, so that we can just have our campus building maps, that kind of thing?
Again, knowing that Widget's literally the only widget we have done is one.
Sure.
Just know that a lot of that stuff is in flux. That is another great question. Send me email,
okay.
And I can get that one back to you.
And then your web browser that's going to be fully functional, is it going to be fully functional on, say, Mozilla or Chrome on a non-OS client, a non-Windows client?
Sorry, is the web console going to be functional on different?
On a Fedora machine running.
Right.
Yeah,
so
sure.
the web console, the new parts, the way that we're able to actually get the functionality that we are is based on Silverlight.
Yeah.
So you're going to need a web UI that supports Silverlight in order to get that kind of experience.
Sure. And are you starting to think about native apps for phones and tablets and stuff?
We had that question a little bit earlier in the week. My understanding from the last time we covered it was that there's actually a partner that's looking at what they can do as a mobile type offering, but it's actually not in our RTM plan at this time.
Okay. What's that?
Thank you for helping community.
Yeah.
All right. On the front.
Two questions. One, with Operation Manager 2012, are there any enhancements with monitoring other operating systems, such as AIX or Solaris?
There are. CrossPlat did take some enhancements. I can't at this time tell you what they are, but yes.
And then also with some of the network monitoring, built in, is there going to be charting based on 95th percentile?
On what?
95th percentile. It's basically how billing occurs. So you take the top 5% of your network, so all the bursting that you do, and you just lob it off. So you say, hey, here's the 95th percentile of bandwidth over time.
I'm not aware of anything.
I'm not aware of any constructs like that. What I would, if you'll send me email, I can say to the guy who owns the networking feature, and we'll find out together.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Thank you. Over here.
Okay. Hello. I saw that you have the MP notification updates through Twitter, but can we be alerted for these updates inside of the So if we have a management pack already installed, do we get an update? Or is there a way that we can get an update from that?
Yeah, I mean, you've got the import catalog option within the Ops console, and you can use that to search for updated management packs, and it'll search what you've got installed and see if there are updates available and provide those for you. But that functionality won't actually provide you a notification that a new management pack has been released.
Right. So we'd have to just go in there quarterly or daily or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not aware of any.
Yeah.
I know it's on a list of.
It's on a list, and I know that we've prototyped things that we could do because, so for example, in System Center Essentials, which actually uses Operations Manager below the covers, Essentials actually is aware of when there's a new version of a management pack that you previously installed, and it'll actually prompt you. So there's plumbing there. We're getting there, but I don't know if we've committed to that for part of the 12 experience or not.
Okay. And also, are the dashboard templates part of the management pack?
The dashboard templates are not part of the management pack. They're part of the feature pack because since we're not changing the schema for the management packs, there's no place to put them in. So the same way that today you might download a discovery management pack and a monitoring management pack, you would also now pull down a dashboard feature pack, and that component would include all the additional 12 specific stuff, such as templates, widgets, and some other things yet to be announced.